Hi, it's Sarah Gibson Tuttle, the founder of Olive and June. Can I tell you the one thing that always makes my day better? A fresh manicure. But here's the thing, who has the time or budget to go to the nail salon every week? That's why we created the Olive and June Gel Mani System. It gives you that same glossy, long-lasting mani you get at a salon for so much less. It comes with everything you need, a pro-level LED lamp, salon-grade tools, our damage-free gel polish that lasts up to 21 days. Just prep, paint, cure, and you're good to go. And the best part, it's so easy and super affordable. So skip that $80 salon appointment. Get that salon quality look at home on your schedule. Head to oliveandjune.com/ManiMagic20 and use code ManiMagic20 for 20% off your first gel system. That's oliveandjune.com/ManiMagic20, code ManiMagic20 for 20% off your first gel mani system.
Everyone wants to be stronger, not just physically, but in every part of life. But between confusing workout advice, complicated equipment, and trying to figure out nutrition, where does anyone even start? Well, to get stronger mentally and physically, go to Anytime Fitness. You'll get a personalized training, nutrition, and recovery plan, all customized to your body, your strength level, and your goals. You'll get expert coaching to optimize your results, anytime, anywhere, in the gym, and on the Anytime Fitness app. And you'll get anytime access to 5,500 gyms worldwide, all with the right equipment to level up your strength gains and your life. So get started at AnytimeFitness.com. That's AnytimeFitness.com.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Means we're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Working towards the weekend. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos and fired up. You are here with us. Andrew Allagretta, the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores, is going to be with us at 1:30. Looking forward to that conversation. It's not the only voice we're talking to today. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, at 2:15. Luke Johnson here in what is now his new Tuesday spot at 2:30. Luke will join us from Saints camp. We'll also talk some Saints Bears coming up here in 15 minutes. As I'll say in the next segment, I know more about the Bears than any Saints opponent that they'll play all year because I've been listening to Cubs radio for the last 3 weeks, like a lot, and they talk about the Bears a lot. And so I catch some of that segment to segment. So I'm going to talk about the Bears here in 15 minutes. Looking forward to all of that discussion. We're going to talk about Vanderbilt's offense coming up at 2 o'clock, my kind of breakdown of what they're going to do. And we'll start with LSU Vanderbilt on the injury side of things. Let's do it in our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, let's start with the availability report from Wednesday night, and I'll be very transparent with you, the listener, right now. Brian Kelly was set to meet with the media at 12:50. That was 11 minutes ago. He hasn't done that yet. That's not uncommon. LSU's always late to interviews every single time interviews are set. So I knew that we were potentially up against this. At any point over the next 15 minutes while I'm talking about this, Brian Kelly might come to the podium. If he does, he's been pretty truthful about what injuries look like, what the injury report's going to say, and what the availability of people are. So I may pivot mid-segment here, but right now we're working off what we know. And what we know is the injury update from last night, which was a little bit surprising, at least to me. Not surprising at all that Gabriel Relaford is not going to play. He is listed as out, subluxation of the shoulder. He's going to be missed significant time. We already knew that. Doubtful, Bernard Gooden. We knew that Bernard Gooden had a bruised collarbone. We knew that he was in a lot of pain as of Monday when Brian Kelly met with the media on Monday around lunchtime. But it sounds like he probably won't play. And I'm basing that off of the fact that LSU, as I just said, has been remarkably consistent and truthful with this injury report. And that was a question that I had, not about LSU, about everybody, as we get into this age of availability reports in the SEC, because we know Lane Kiffin played some shenanigans with them early on and was putting 30 guys on there, and the coaches don't generally like to divulge injury information. Can you imagine if Jay Johnson had to release this 3 times a week? Probably wouldn't be his favorite thing. And so LSU, when they release something, it is generally held through the week. Bernard Gooden, doubtful on Wednesday. I'm doubting very seriously that he's going to play. Then you move to questionable. You got two more guys on the defensive front seven. Jamari Butler, questionable with that ankle sprain. Whit Weeks, questionable. He hurt his wrist against Ole Miss, and he played a limited number of snaps against South Carolina. So obviously that is still bothering him. So if you look at those four names I just gave you, Gabe Relaford out, Bernard Gooden doubtful, Jamari Butler questionable, Whit Weeks questionable, all of that is on the defensive front seven. And this is a Vanderbilt offense that is built on running the football. Vanderbilt leads the country in yards per carry. They run a triple option offense, which is very, very difficult to deal with at times because of how disciplined they are and how many options they create. If you've watched them at all this year, especially in the Bama game, they hit Bama with a couple of really nice read options that turned into shovel passes to the same lead back. Diego Pavio will get on the edge, and he'll do some things to pitch it around or run it for 4 or 5 yards. Like, it's a deliberate and option-based offense that Tim Beck has put in there at Vanderbilt, and they're very, very good at it. And if you take out Gabe Relaford and you take out Bernard Gooden, a senior, you take out Jamari Butler, a senior, and you take out Whit Weeks, a 3-year starter, you automatically are going to get younger on defense. At tackle, you bring Gooden out. You've got Guillory, you've got Bro, you've got McKinley. Bro and McKinley are sophomores, and then you're probably next up going to go to Walter Mathis, who's a freshman. You get younger at defensive tackle because of Gooden's absence. On the edge, you still have Jack Pyburn and you still have Patrick Payton. Those are senior players. But right behind them is Dylan Carpenter. We talked to Dylan Carpenter on Tuesday. I wrote a story about him today on LouisianaSports.net. He's not super young because he's in his third year at LSU, but he hasn't played really at all. And so you're asking him to come in and be the next man up at defensive end against an offense that requires a lot of discipline, a lot of discipline with your eyes is the only way to really put that. So you get younger there. And then when Whit Weeks steps out, that's 3 years of experience, and you're bringing in Devon Keys and Tylen Singleton, who just haven't played as much. And I think that is a concern for LSU when you look at this injury report that, hey, like, you have depth. We've talked about that since August. And I told you in August that you can really overcome an injury here or there at every position, really. Now, knowing what I know now, I'm not in a hurry to play without Mansour Delane. I'm not in a hurry to play without A.J. Halsey. But Halsey did miss the first half against Clemson, and you put Jordan Gilbert back there, and the defense played very well. And you have played without West Weeks at times this year, and you put Devon Keys and Tylen Singleton in there, and Whit has missed a little bit of time here and there, and you played those guys. So it's not completely foreign, but we'll see how much Walter Mathis has to play in this game on Saturday, or how much you can see what you're getting from Jacobian Guillory, Ahmad Bro, and Dominic McKinley. The good news is that Vanderbilt doesn't run a lot of plays. We're going to talk about this in the second hour. Vanderbilt is the slowest team in the Southeastern Conference. So it's not an issue of being gassed. It's just an issue of making sure that you're in the right place. Now, I do know that right now, Brian Kelly is at the podium. So let me reset this with new information. You're learning about it at the same time I am. Bernard Gooden remains doubtful, so that stays put. Whit Weeks is questionable. Jamari Butler is questionable. That's the same. And then probable Aaron Anderson and Paul Mavinga. So LSU's not going to change its injury report tonight. So that's not surprising. And look, I think as you look at it, and I haven't gotten to the offensive side, that's where Aaron Anderson and Paul Mavinga are both probable. But on the defensive side, here's my opinion. And this is just that. I have every bit as much information as you do on this. Gooden being doubtful on Wednesday and Thursday, he's not going to play. If he does, I will change my tune on this. That'll be new information. I have not seen an LSU player move from doubtful to questionable and play this season. That hasn't happened yet. Questionable. Those guys have generally gone. Aaron Anderson didn't last week. He warmed up, didn't go. We'll see what Jamari Butler, his ankle feels like. They've got real depth there. So with Carpenter playing, I think you've got a chance to see him play. I would be surprised. Again, this is Hunt Palmer, conjecture, guessing educatedly about knowing how Whit Weeks is wired and knowing what's on the line for this team in his college career. I would be surprised if he didn't play with a wrist injury at linebacker. If it was a knee injury where he could not run, He could not pivot. He could not move. Okay. And I don't know what the wrist injury is, and I'm not a doctor, so trust me, there is room here for me to be completely wrong, but a wrist injury feels like to me that it just hurts. If there's risk of him significantly damaging it further, well, then you probably don't send him out there. But if it just hurts, it feels like he would go out there. Now, I'm just talking in my head, talking through this. If it just hurts, he's probably not questionable. He's probably probable. So we'll see. But Aaron Anderson and Paul Mabenga on the offensive side look like they're good to go. Aaron is taking very much the same trajectory that Trey'Dez Green took. Trey'Dez Green went down with that knee injury, blocking against Louisiana Tech. He missed a week. Then he went out in warmups and with a brace on and gave it a go in warmups and then sat. And then he was ready to go after the bye. At Ole Miss, and then there was a bye. Aaron missed the second half against Ole Miss, and then he warmed up last week and didn't play. So this is the same track with the same area of pain that Trey'Dez Green had, and I anticipate that you will see Aaron Anderson. That is a big deal. They need him. He is the same general skill set as Kyle Parker, same general skill set as Xavier Thomas. He's just better than them. And we know that Garrett Nussmeier trusts him. We know that he's been very productive with Garrett Nussmeier. So they have a guy that can kind of fill that role. Like when Trey'Dez Green goes down, you don't have anybody to fill that role. You don't have anybody to split out and throw a fade to on a corner and just sky up at 6'7". Like that guy doesn't exist. You don't have that guy. Harold Perkins goes down, you don't have that same skill set. You can put a guy there. It's not the same. I would suggest that with Aaron Anderson going out, Kyle Parker and Xavier Thomas do some similar things. They're both 6 feet and just a little bit under. They're both working in the middle of the field, quickness over speed and size. Same type deal, but Aaron Anderson's just better. So I think you're going to see Aaron Anderson play in this game, and that's a big help to LSU. As far as Paul Mabenga goes, I thought Cohen Eccles did a good job last week in the running game. He's not as good in pass protection. Mabenga has played more, and he might be a little bit better in pass protection than Eccles. So I could see a situation where if LSU got a lead, maybe LSU's up 14 in the fourth quarter and gets the ball. I could see Eccles going in. We know we're running the ball in this drive. Let's get our best guy in there to run the ball. Say LSU's down 10 with 9 minutes to go in the game. Let's get Mabenga in there. He's the better pass pro. We're going to be slinging it a little bit here. That may be the guy. This is conjecture on my part. I don't know how Mabenga feels. The high ankle sprain is really tough on guys that weigh that much. But if he's probable, I think you're going to see him out there because the probable guys have played for LSU. So it's a more extensive injury list than I was expecting to see when it came available on Wednesday night. But for this point, and it will not change tonight, according to Brian Kelly, Gabriel Relaford not going to play. He is out. Bernard Gooden is doubtful. I do not expect to see him on Saturday. Jamari Butler and Whit Weeks, more on the front seven, questionable for this game. That's been a toss-up for LSU to this point, and then probable Aaron Anderson and Paul Mabenga. Fully expect to see those guys give it a go on Saturday in Nashville. It'll be LSU and Vanderbilt, 11 a.m. I think kickoff time is actually 11:05 a.m. From Music City, and we're getting you ready for it here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Got a lot of LSU Vanderbilt preview coming your way today. We got in 15 minutes, Andrew Allagretta, the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores, going to join us to talk about Clark Lee's team, which is off to a great 5-1 start and is favored in this game. So we'll talk to Andrew coming up at 1:30. And then we'll talk about this Vanderbilt offense at 2 o'clock. I've got a lot of thoughts on what I've seen from them, both statistically and when you turn on the tape of those guys. Chris Blair going to be with us at 2:15, talking Tigers. Luke Johnson talking Saints at 2:30. So lots and lots and lots to do. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef, some of the best beef in America. Right here, just outside of Baton Rouge at Sagrera Farms. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I'm going to tell you a little about the Bears because I kind of know a lot about the Bears. We'll do that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that is on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. America's best warranty. I tell you about it every single day because it's important to know that when you get that new Genesis, that luxury vehicle at that reasonable price, it's going to come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. It's going to come with a 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. Car issues stink. We all know that. How about America's best warranty to give you a little bit of peace of mind as you drive off the lot in that new Genesis? To go with that peace of mind, 24/7 roadside assistance. It's such a nice thing to have. You never know when that issue is going to arise, and it is no fun. let Genesis help you with that. That's 5 years, unlimited miles. And also, that complimentary schedule maintenance I tell you about every single day. For 3 years, you don't have to worry about the maintenance of your vehicle. They come pick it up. They take it to the shop. They handle the maintenance. They bring it back to you. You've had a loaner the whole time, hadn't missed a beat, and your car is maintenance. That's it. Genesis of Baton Rouge. Genesis of BatonRouge.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Bringing our Thursday shows, also where you can find some of the finest beef in the nation. Top 1% prime Angus beef with Sean Sagrera at Sagrera Farm. I talked to Sean last week. Fall's a great time to go see the farm. It's an awesome time. The weather's cooling off a little bit. You can go out there and just see the operation that Sean and his team take so much pride in. Started out as a labor of love, and it still is. But it's also a business now because y'all have been so great in patronizing them because you've seen how great their product is. You're talking about an opportunity to go out there, see the cows, and understand what you're buying when you buy it. You can see their operation. You can see the marbling and the flavor profile of all of this beef. And you understand that when you buy from Sagrera Farms, you're going to load that freezer up with some of the highest quality beef that you're going to find anywhere. And there's only two places to find Sagrera Farms beef. On the farm at Sagrera Farms or at Supper Club. That's it. So if you want fillets, ribeyes, skirt steaks, flank steaks, chuck roasts, of course, ground beef as well, and you want to have that freezer full as we get into the fall, go see Sean at Sagrera Farms. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. So as y'all are probably fairly aware, some of you more aware than others, Chicago Cubs have been playing a lot of playoff baseball in the last 2.5 weeks. They are no longer doing so, but I've been locked in on Chicago sports like heavily for the last month with the end of the baseball season and with the playoffs. And with that comes some ancillary Bears talk that I get. So more so than the New York Jets or the Los Angeles Chargers or the Kansas City Chiefs, the Miami Dolphins, like, I actually don't have to do a ton of research on the Chicago Bears. I know a lot about the Bears because I hear about it indirectly all the time. And I'll tell you this, Saints fans, the New Orleans Saints are going in to a bit of a hornet's nest on Sunday. This is a Bears fan base that is starving for good football. Starving. They have gone through GM change, coach change, quarterback change in succession over and over and over again. It's Mitch Trubisky. It's Matt Nagy. It's Matt Eberflus. They go hire Ryan Poles as the GM, and then they bring in Eberflus, and then you realize that Justin Fields doesn't work, and then you get Caleb Williams, and you've got Eberflus, but you got to get rid of him. And it's just been an absolute mess up there on the Midway for a long time. They haven't had a functional quarterback really since Jay Cutler, and I don't know if that's the guy you want leading your team. And this franchise is proud enough, and they generally speaking have a good enough defense. They got Rex Grossman to the Super Bowl. But they never have good quarterback play, and they're usually not very good. And to make matters worse, the Packers always have a quarterback. The Packers have had a quarterback for 35 years. So this is a tortured fan base to an extent. And now, over the last 3 weeks, they like what Ben Johnson says as the head coach. They like what Caleb Williams is doing on the field, and they've won 3 games in a row. This is an organization that very rarely feels anything positive. They're feeling positive right now. And you're going to see Soldier Field at full throat for this game on Sunday because very rarely are the Bears in an advantageous situation where they're playing good football and they feel like they're significantly better than the other team. And that's what you're going to get on Sunday. So what's this team actually like on the field? Well, I'll tell you this. Caleb Williams was not very good last year. It was a mess. The Bears did not have a good offensive coaching staff. They did not have a good offensive line at all. They had disgruntled playmakers. They couldn't run it. Caleb was kind of freelancing, freestyling, winging it all over the place. Then you find out he's not working that hard. And, well, what did Caleb Williams actually tell his representation through his father that he didn't want the Bears to actually draft him in the first place? And, like, all this stuff is going on. And it was a big, big mess last year. And when the Commanders hit that Hail Mary to beat them, the whole thing cratered. And Eberflus got fired, and they had to start from the bottom up. But they went and got Ben Johnson. And Saints fans know that you were in the coaching market, and Ben Johnson was the guy that everybody wanted, and the Bears got him. And he's come in, and he's changed the culture there. And he's got Caleb Williams playing much better football over the last 3 weeks. They've led a couple of late drives to take leads, and they hit that game-winning field goal on the road against Washington on Monday, which is a really nice win for them. They come from behind in the second half to do that. Caleb Williams is playing better. Roma Dunze, they really like on the outside. He did not do much last year. He's been better this year. DJ Moore is a nice number 2. He made more plays than Odunze on Monday. And then you've got tight end where they were expecting Colson Loveland to be a huge piece to what they were doing. They took him in the first round of the draft, and they haven't done a lot with him. They've got Cole Kmet there, an old Brian Kelly prospect, and they've got a nice cast of playmakers around Caleb Williams. DeAndre Smith had a big play in the game on Monday. He's been a little bit underwhelming, but the offensive line is the problem with the Bears, and they have really struggled at tackle. They drafted Audrey Trapillo. He hasn't been an answer. He's now not starting. They've got Darnell Wright over at the right tackle, and they've gone at left tackle to Theo Benedet, who was an undrafted free agent. It's in his second year with the Bears. He played a little right tackle, then they kicked him over to left tackle, and he was their guy for the first time on Monday night. This is where the Saints must attack. If the Saints do not win at the line of scrimmage against the weakest point of the Chicago Bears offense, the Bears will score points on the Saints. Like the Bears, they have a good coach who's very creative. I would suggest that Ben Johnson and Kyle Shanahan are the two most innovative offensive minds. I'm not going to dismiss Andy Reid right now, okay, as best minds, but doing things where you look out on the field and go, you don't see that a lot. Like Ben Johnson with the Lions last year hit the Bears with the quarterback fake fell down and then threw a touchdown pass. They are creative. Kyle Shanahan's that way out west. Ben Johnson is that way here. And if you let the Bears offensive line, which is not very good, win at the point of attack, you're in big trouble. Now, if you flip things to the defensive side, the Bears defense got embarrassed by the Lions in week 2. Embarrassed. I mean, that town was down bad. That was right at the beginning of the Cubs playoff run. I was listening a lot, and they were just despondent about how this isn't going to work. The Bears are a disaster. They got no chance. And this is Dennis Allen's defense. Y'all all know Dennis Allen. And that they were, the Lions put a 50 burger on them. 50 in an NFL game. That just doesn't happen. And since then, they've played better. They have played better. You got Tyreek Stevenson, who's really good out at the right corner. And they've got a pretty good secondary, and you expect that from a Dennis Allen team. Montez Sweat has been underachieving as a pass rusher for the Bears. And the Bears were bad against the Lions in a loss up front, and they were bad in a win over the Raiders up front. The Raiders were able to run the ball. Ashton Genty found a lot of room, but the Bears ended up getting that touchdown late to win it. So it's, again, back to the line of scrimmage. Your offensive line, which has been mediocre, has got to get the run game going. Don't know if Kamara's going to play or not, but if he does it, well, you got a shot at a little revenge here. Kendre Miller got a shot at a little revenge. Guy calling plays on the defense doesn't think much of you, wanted to sit you on the bench. Your turn to go get some yards. Now, he needs help from his offensive front, but you've got to knock some guys out of the way and go make some hay on the ground. You cannot ask your quarterback to go in what I just told you is going to be a hornet's nest of a stadium and go shot for shot with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, who, by the way, Spencer Rattler has some history with at Oklahoma, if you don't help him out up front with the running game. You have to do that. And it's a place the Bears can be susceptible. This is a tough spot for New Orleans, no question about it. You're talking about going on the road You're talking about playing a team that's got a lot of good vibes. But if you're going to get this done, you take advantage of the weakness of the Bears on the edges on the offensive line, especially at left tackle, where they got an undrafted second-year player making his second start at left tackle. And then on the flip side, you got to hit the Bears in the mouth and run the football. You have to. If you don't do those two things, you're going to get beat. You might get beat anyway. But if you don't do those two things, you will get beat. If you do those two things, you will get into the second half, into the fourth quarter with a chance to win. And look, the Saints have done that with the Cardinals, with the 49ers, with the Bills, with the Patriots. You didn't do it. I mean, you did it with the Giants. You didn't do it in Seattle. But every game, you've gotten to the second half, to the fourth quarter with a shot. Some shots better than others, but with a shot. That's what you got to do in this game on Sunday. There's a lot of different motives, a lot of factors at this, and we'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow. But this is a Bears team that is not, in my estimation, in the top 4 or 5 in the NFC, but they have aspirations of that. And if you ask anybody in that building where things are headed, they think that. And so that's a dangerous thing. It's a powerful thing to change the culture, change the mindset. And as I told you at the outset, there hadn't been confidence at Hallis Hall in Chicago in a long time. There is right now. It's up to the Saints to go up there and respond to that, play a good football game on Sunday. I'll give you my pick tomorrow. That's an overall look at the Chicago Bears as we get ready for Saints and Bears on Sunday. All right, Jordan, I'll let you kind of opine on that just a little bit. Are you fired up to play Dennis Allen?
I'm fired up to play Dennis Allen. I'm fired up for the storylines. I'm just fired up at knowing that we finally get that Spencer Rattler, Caleb Williams showdown. But I'll tell you this, Hunt. I know you said it's going to be a hornet's nest. I know you said we're going in there, but I think this is a real letdown spot for the Bears. So they play the Ravens next week. I know it's the Ravens, but Lamar Jackson comes back next week. So they might be looking ahead like, okay, Saints, what we got going on. But, hey, we got the Ravens next week. You know, this might be a spot where they could be underestimating the Saints a little bit. So I think Spencer Rattler's, obviously, he wants to win this game more than anybody.
Yeah.
So they're going to be juiced to the gills. Chicago's going to be juiced. They're coming off a good Monday Night Football win. So this could be a spot where they're riding a little too high, ride too close to the sun, and boom, the rattlesnake gets you. So, and Kendre Miller, revenge game. It's a lot of storylines. I'm not going to go out on a limb and be like, oh, yeah, I got the Saints money line or something like that. But I do see a universe where somehow, some way, Kellen Moore does some type of voodoo magic or something, and they find a way to pull this from the jaws of defeat. Like it's going to be an ugly game. I'll say that.
So the look ahead spot is interesting. It doesn't happen nearly as much in the NFL as it does in college. Yeah. But I just know how sad the Bears make that city every fall, and they're so fired up right now.
Oh yeah,
that fan base in that stadium is going to be full of life on Sunday. There's no question about that.
I'm excited.
All right, let's talk some LSU and Vanderbilt with the voice of the Commodores, Andrew Allagretta. We'll do it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group. HighlandIG.com is that website. Captives. If you have not explored a captive and you are a business that feels like you're paying a significant amount in insurance, it could be a game changer for your bottom line. If you're thinking, I don't even know what that is. My broker never does that. He just comes with the renewal papers. If that's the case and you've never seen it, the Highland Insurance Group handles captives all the time. And it's one of those deals that you have to fit into it. You've got to have great loss history. You've got to have great risk management. And you've got to have a sizable premium. But if you have those three things and you meet that criteria and you can fit into it, it can be a game changer for your business's bottom line when it comes to your insurance costs. It just can. My 7 years in insurance, captives really became in vogue in the second half of that, and I saw it make a difference to a number of businesses. It's something you need to explore if you fit. So if you haven't had your broker go through that with you, Jonathan Carbo and the Highland Insurance Group will do that for you. Reach out to them. They're in Baton Rouge. You can find them online at HighlandIG.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, handling your insurance needs here in Baton Rouge at HighlandIG.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Tigers and Commodores from Music City a little after 11 o'clock on Saturday. You can listen to that here on Eagle 98.1. one man who will be there. Voice of the Commodores, Andrew Allagretta, good enough to give us a little time here on this Thursday. Joins us via the Jones Firearms Hotline. Andrew, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing quite well. We spoke back in August, and I asked if it was important for Vanderbilt to get off to a good start, and you kind of said, "Well, I don't really know. I don't know." Well, they did. So they've gotten off to a 5-1 start. How are the vibes in Nashville at this point?
Yeah, very illuminating interview. I don't know. Maybe they get off to a good start. Maybe they don't. Who knows? It's obviously positive.
Yeah.
We're kind of setting a lot of records or hitting a bunch of benchmarks that date back to, like World War II, like one of them this week, the fact that LSU and Vanderbilt are both ranked for the first time since 1947. We scored 70 points in a game for the first time since 1918. So we're doing a lot of that stuff. But I will caution that I don't know that anybody is, too far down the road with enthusiasm, because I think they recognize it's a unique team here at Vanderbilt, and there's still 6 games to go, obviously with a very challenging one on Saturday.
No question. Challenge win for LSU as well. I want to talk about the start that Vanderbilt did get off to, specifically the Alabama game, because I think that's the most interesting. What did you see in that game, big picture, from Vanderbilt in Tuscaloosa?
I saw a team that probably beat itself, and I think they would concede to as much. They certainly didn't play a Vanderbilt brand of football. I mean, Alabama is going to force you, and great football teams are going to force you into playing a style of football that is not your own. And obviously, Alabama made some tremendous plays in that game to get Vanderbilt out of its own space. We've talked a bunch this week with the coaches and whoever else about the fact that Vanderbilt didn't sustain drives in that game. Vanderbilt had no 5-minute drives in that football game. They were 3 and out once. They were 4 and out twice. Their average number of plays per drive was 6. That's not what Vanderbilt does. When Vanderbilt is at its best, it's going to have 8 to 10 play drives. It's going to dominate the time of possession. It's going to finish with touchdowns in the red zone. They turned it over twice in the red zone versus Alabama. This is me speaking, not anybody else, but I left Tuscaloosa being, a little bit bummed out that the Tide didn't beat us better, if that makes sense. Like, it's okay if they punch you in the teeth and you gave it your best punch back, but I think Vanderbilt left that game, number one, recognizing how talented Alabama is, but also thinking, man, if we had just kind of dusted up our thing, whether we win or lose, who knows? But you could have walked out of the stadium not kind of wishing you didn't turn it over twice in the red zone and things like that.
Vanderbilt leads the country in yards per carry. How do they do that?
Well, with a really good offensive line. I can't remember if we talked about this back in August or not, but one of the things that they did, and I talked about it with Chris Blair earlier this week, like no matter how big your resources are or small, at some point they're finite and you have to decide where you're going to dedicate your resources. And Vanderbilt, through the transfer portal, dedicated a lot to the trenches, offense and defensive lines, but they've done a great job building a good offensive line. We saw that versus Virginia Tech. We saw that good versus South Carolina, just kind of push those teams around throughout the course of 4 quarters. I think they did fine versus Alabama. They ripped off that 65-yard touchdown run by Cedric Alexander. They ripped off, I think, 35-yarder by Diego Pavia. So the offensive line, I think, deserves a ton of credit. We've got good backs. We've got backs that are very diversified, if you will. Cedric Alexander is kind of an all-around back. He can block, he can catch, all of that sort of stuff. MK Young has, I think, multiple 60-plus yard rushes here this season. There's a little guy by the name of Del Lassiter. He's like, 5 foot nothing, but has a ton of speed, a former walk-on. So it's a stable of running backs with different skill sets and an offensive line that has been very, very physical so far.
Is it fair? I hear this a lot from analysts and folks that are discussing Vanderbilt. Is it fair to call it some sort of an option offense, or do you see it in a different way?
I don't think it's fair to say option because of mostly what that's going to conjure in people's minds. Like, that's going to conjure Army and Jeff Monken or Georgia Tech and Paul Johnson. Like, it's not. We're not sitting there with an A back and a B back and all of this sort of stuff. So I'm not sure that I think option is truly the best way to describe it. I don't know that I've got the perfect way to describe it. It's it's an offense that has kind of mixed and matched a lot of things together. Chris Klonakis is our offensive line coach. He used to be the offensive coordinator back at Nevada years ago. So there's a lot of pistol in there. There is option looks, obviously, clearly. But it's not. We're going to roll out and it's not that form of option. I just think it's an offense that is very motion heavy, that has option elements, and is looking to get the defense, out of position with the way that they're going to attack them. So, someone smarter than me can probably put a good term on it. I've even asked him back, the offensive coordinator, what do you call this? And he even hedges. It's just it's our offense. It's just what we do. It's kind of conjured together from years of Tim Beck working with Jerry Kill or Chris Klonakis working with Colin Kaepernick, and it's their own thing.
It's been very, very effective thus far. Andrew Allagretta is our guest. He's the voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores. Tigers indoors on Saturday morning for the start into the early afternoon. Let's talk about the defense now. It's Clark Lee's side of the football. What's the strength of this Vanderbilt defense?
It's going to be the front seven in some form. I think the strength of the defense, and quite frankly, it's kind of Vanderbilt in general, is their ability to execute. That doesn't mean that they're perfect, but it's a team that believes it has the skill set to win every game. But it's also a team that is committed to following their assignments, the boring old do your job sort of stuff, and executing at a really high level. We've got some defensive prospects on this team that are absolutely going to play in the NFL, whether it's Fontenette, who's fantastic coming off the edge, not an edge rusher, but that, I don't know if you call it the star position or whatever, the hybrid safety sort of stuff. And we've got Corday Sidnor coming off the edge, Miles Capers coming off the edge. Those guys are disruptive. I suppose there's some concern in the back of that defense. The safety position is a little bit inexperienced at this level. CJ Hurd came to us, a safety from FAU. We've got a guy back there, a captain named Marlon Sewell, but, he's someone that has kind of waited his time on the bottom part of the depth chart and started to rise as he's gotten older. The cornerbacks are deeper, but they're not, it's not Darrell Revis out there on Revis Island. They're still very talented, don't get me wrong, but it's a defense that I think buys into the way that they play very well. And I think we've got a very good defensive coordinator in Steve Gregory that's been very adept on knowing when to send pressure, when not to send pressure, how to vary the looks and get teams just a little bit off balance. I mean, if you're asking me where the best talented players are, it's probably going to be the edge rushers and Corday Sidnor, Miles Capers, and then the linebackers are really deep. Langston Patterson and Longwell and Bryce Cowan and Nick Rinaldi. They've got a lot of pieces there. But if you're talking about who's going to be a first-round NFL draft pick sort of stuff, I don't know. That's for a scout to tell you.
So if we bring this to an LSU-specific conversation with Vanderbilt, what are one or two things that you think Clark Lee and his staff want to make sure they accomplish on Saturday to win the game?
Stay ahead of the change. To me, the whole and that's a ridiculously boring football answer. I get that, but if you don't and you're Vanderbilt, you get the Alabama game. The Blake Baker defense is really difficult. Obviously, they're doing a tremendous job this season against everybody that they've played. Vanderbilt has played Blake Baker as the defensive coordinator 3 times, twice at Missouri, once at LSU. Different coordinators for Vanderbilt, different players. But Vanderbilt is 0-3 versus him. And they've averaged 17 points per game, thereabouts, in those 3 games. If his attacking style of defense disrupts the way that Vanderbilt is going to play, and Vanderbilt sits in 2nd and 11 instead of 2nd and 6, or they sit in 3rd and 9 instead of 3rd and 2, that feels like an uncomfortable spot for Vanderbilt to be in. So how Vanderbilt handles the way that Blake Baker dials up the defense, which I don't know that he's going to rush 6 guys on all of his plays. I don't know that, obviously. But, it's his tendency to be very aggressive. And if Vanderbilt can't figure out a way to handle the aggressiveness, they're going to be stuck in 2nd and 12, and that's the problem.
And if it comes down to a kick, I don't think that would surprise anybody, certainly not the folks out in Vegas. But if it came down to a 41-yard field goal, how does Vanderbilt feel about that?
Pretty good. Brock Taylor's been fantastic. It's not perfect. Nobody's perfect. But he's been outstanding. I think Vanderbilt's field goal range, quite honestly, like if it came down to a game-winning field goal, like to shoot straight, it's probably 65 yards and in for Brock Taylor, like if it came down to a game-winning field goal. But he holds the program record at 57-yarder versus Missouri a season ago. He also holds the program record for most career 50-plus yard field goals. I think it's 6 or 7 at this point. So he's got a big, strong leg. He's been pretty darn accurate. Nobody's perfect, but if you're telling me we've got a 40-yard field goal to win the game at the buzzer, I think we're happy to trot Brock Taylor out there.
I think both teams probably in that boat at this point with these two kickers that have been very good. Andrew, we appreciate the time today. Enjoy the football on Saturday.
Absolutely. Thanks, man.
He is Andrew Allagretta, voice of the Vanderbilt Commodores. Good enough to give us a little bit of time here on this Thursday. I've got my thoughts on Vanderbilt's offense coming up at 2 o'clock, and we are in lockstep there. He certainly knows Vanderbilt a lot better than I do. But when you look at Vanderbilt statistically, it's just very, very obvious what they're trying to do. And I think that LSU will obviously know that and try to take it away. Easier said than done. That's why the Commodores have gotten off to the start they have gotten off to and really have had a year-and-a-half run of relative success with what they've done under Diego Pavia at quarterback and certainly Clark Lee, who's doing a great job at head coach. Thanks to Andrew for giving us a little time here on this Thursday. We'll come back and close out hour number 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com is that website. Looking to go watch the game somewhere on Saturday? How about Swing Easy Golf Club? They're open on Saturday. Can promise you the weather's going to be perfect inside, which is where Swing Easy Golf Club is. You go in, bring your clubs. You can turn the game on the TV. They got beer, wine, seltzers. You can hang out with the group, hit some golf shots between plays, during plays, and just enjoy the afternoon over at Swing Easy Golf Club. Turn that simulator on and put it on Pebble Beach. Put it on TPC Sawgrass and try your luck on the Island Green. If you want to turn on the driving range setting and see who can hit it the farthest, you can do that too over at Swing Easy Golf Club. Awesome place to watch football, to hang out, to work on your golf game, get something to drink. It's over there on Segan at Perkins. Again, Segan at Perkins. You can book a tee time or just walk in and see if one of their 3 bays are available. But a great place to hang out and have some fun. It's Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. SwingEasyGCBR.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
A little bit of an awkward situation in Stillwater, Oklahoma. I'll talk about that in a second. But first, let me get you set up for our game day here on Saturday. For these early games, we don't play a lot of them. We shift our schedule a little bit. So for your information on Saturday as you get ready for LSU and Vanderbilt, Eagle 98.1 game day, pregame from inside the Raising Cane studio right here. Charles Hannegriff, Matt Musso, 7 o'clock, usually 5 hours early. They're not going to start at 6 o'clock on a Saturday because a lot of folks sleeping at 6 o'clock on a Saturday. I hope I am. No guarantee with 2 littles. But 7 o'clock start, 4 hours before kickoff. They'll go for 2 hours on the pregame show. They'll hand it off to me on the LSU Sports Radio Network at 9 o'clock. We'll go for 90 minutes, 95 minutes or so on our official network pregame show. Then they'll have the call of the game from up in Nashville. It'll be Gordy Rush, Jacob Hester, and the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. 30 minutes after it goes final, me, Brandon Taylor, Marlon Favorite on the network postgame show for about an hour. And still, 90 minutes after the game goes final, a 3-hour Eagle 98.1 post-game, taking your phone calls from Rouse's on Burbank, Charles Hannegriff, and Richard Dixon. So 7 o'clock pregame right here in studio, then network pregame at 9. 30 minutes after the game goes final, network pregame for an hour. And then you'll have 3 hours of Charles Hannegriff and Richard Dixon from Rouse's, Burbank, and Lee on Saturday. So you're looking at 7 a.m. to somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 p.m. for your game day here under the Guarantee Roof over on Eagle 98.1. So tune us in for any and all of that you possibly can. There's news out of Stillwater that Noah McKinney, their offensive lineman, is entering the transfer portal today. And you're going, wait a second, what? Portal, it's the middle of the season. Well, they fired their coach. So you have a window to enter the transfer portal. But not only is Noah McKinney entering the transfer portal right now, today, he's officially in, according to Pete Nakos of On3, he's going to play the rest of the season. So, like, I'm here, guys. I don't know if he's got NIL money that's tied to him playing. I don't know if he just wants to keep his options open and see who the next coach is, but wants to have the opportunity to be contacted while the games are going. Like, I'm not sure what the motivation is, but this is not something you would have seen 6 years ago in collegiate athletics, where you're 6 games into the seasson, season's not going great, coach got fired, and portal's open. So, all right, anybody out there that wants me to come play for you next year, I'm open to talking to you, but wait till I finish practice here, and I'm going to play the rest of the season, but I'm open to chatting with y'all later.
This might be the craziest story I've ever heard. I've never.
It's completely within the rules.
What?
When you fire a coach, immediately it triggers a transfer portal opening. And look, he's probably a popular guy, because if you go into the portal in December, everyone's in the portal.
Yes.
You go into the portal in October, nobody's in the portal. It's me. You want to talk to me? I'm here. So you can hear from anybody in the transfer portal at that point. So the odd thing is that he's going to go to practice with his teammates every day and go play in games. And look, I think he'll play hard. I think he'll try to do the best he can so that NIL offer at the next spot is good. Maybe he's back at Oklahoma State. He just doesn't know who the coach is going to be. So, like, I'm not here in any way to disparage Noah McKinney or to – it's just I saw the story today and I went, that's new. You just don't see that a lot. So Noah McKinney entering the transfer portal, but playing out the rest of the season at Oklahoma State. There's also some further reporting on Billy Napier today. Another source was leaked to another writer. Yesterday we gave you Matt Hayes' story. There's another report today that this will be Billy Napier's last game at Florida. There's a bye week following this, and they feel like that's the time to make the change. My take on this has not changed at all. And admittedly, I'm making this take without actual hard information as to who's talking to who and who knows what and who's reporting. Like, I don't know everything. I just think it's not great that a football team is preparing to go play a football game, and there are people in decision-making spots, whether that's a booster or an athletic director or whatever, that is telling media, hey, we're going to fire this guy on Sunday. Yeah, go ahead and run that. It just sucks for the players. I don't like it. Like, Billy Napier will live. He's owed $40 million, $50 million or something. He'll be all right, and it's a bummer for him this week, but he'll get on over it. The players will get on over it too, and I'll get on over it too, and it just is what it is. But it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. You don't get a lot of football games. You don't get a lot of chances to go out there and play, and to have that information out in the open a half a week before the game starts, just it bums me out a little bit. Like, I'm not really super bummed that Oklahoma State's tackles in the transfer portal and going through and playing with his guys. I'm a little bummed out for the Florida players that, like, hey, we're firing your coach on Sunday. No matter if you win or lose, but go get him. I just don't love it. It's okay if you fire the guy. He hadn't won enough games, but telling everybody you're doing it 4 days early, not my favorite. All right, that's it for hour number 1. We will pause for Sports International headlines. I'll come back, preview a little Vanderbilt. It's the Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
It's actually not Tuesday, it's Thursday, but those start with T, and sometimes I confuse them, is what it is. One Bath and Closets, you can call them on a Tuesday or a Thursday. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. I say remodel, redesign. A lot of times you think big stuff, big projects, big dollar signs. Well, they can do all that. They're very capable, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be something that is quote unquote simple, like a tub to shower conversion. If you've got that big jacuzzi style tub, or you've got an old dingy tub that you don't use, take it out. You're talking about what David Vaughn tells me. It depends on the course and scope of the work, but generally a tub to shower conversion can be done in 3 to 5 days. If you need financing, they've got that available, 0% up to 18 months, and you can have a brand new, gorgeous walk-in shower in the place of that old dingy, functionless tub quickly. So call David or check out the website, OneBathAndClosets.com, and get that process started today. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online, OneBathAndClosets.com.